Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hello. Thank you for joining us today, this morning, for this forum. Thanks to Renaud for his conference, and thank you for the Viti team for inviting me to host this roundtable. So, first of all, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Mathieu Doumenge. I'm a senior reporter for French magazine Terre based here in Bordeaux, Group Sud-Ouest. And our guest today, so I no need to introduce Renaud again. I think all of you attended the conference first. And we have Sébastien Labat, project manager at startup incubator for Group Magrez, that you're going to introduce yourself further.
Good morning.
Mickael, Rouyer, one communication and marketing consultant.
If you can leave your mask, it will be
sure.
Comfortable for us.
Yeah, sure. Sorry. So Mickael, thank you for joining us this morning. So we have quite a broad range of topics to address this morning. So you're going to make it sharp, and of course we'll have a Q&A afterwards. So first of all, maybe to follow the conference, maybe we could come again with the concept of, since the main topic is new technologies at the service of wine, we could go on the improvement of vats and the existence of new containers right now for producing wine. Renaud.
I think my starting point was to say, and again, it's a very personal point of view, but my starting point was to say that I'm not sure we could improve that much the quality of the wines, whatever we are doing in terms of technology to produce it. I think we've reached a certain level of quality now, technically speaking, that we will not reinvent the processing of producing the wine. So it's just we can move some very small part of it and details of the processing. That's it. And I think, and that's the point of it, is we can use that to say something else from us or about us, not obviously on the quality itself. It will give something else to the wine, definitely. And as I told you, and as Ludovic David from the marketing told me, it will give maybe some more fruity or deeper fruit aspect. Okay, fine. Or minerality enhancing. Okay, maybe, why not? But does it improve the global quality of the wine itself? I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not a technical expert. I'm not an enologist. I'm just a marketing guy and a sales guy. So, and I'm just trying to answer the demand always. And the demand is so, versatile, as I said, that yes, we have to find ways to answer it. And that could be a way to answer it.
But if we stick to the concept of innovation and new technologies, the interesting and even tricky part is, as you showed us before at Market Terre, now you can age your wines and you can produce wines in all kinds of course, barrels, but now wine globes and amphoras. Amphoras is not quite an innovation. It was made like 4,000 or 5,000 years ago. Yeah. So now is innovation a way of coming back to the old ways?
It's always the point. We are always there is nothing else to reinvent, I think so. It's just we always find new ways again from the past, and we always learn from the ancient producers that they used to do it this way. Yes, maybe it could add something, but it's also a way to tell a story, to use amphoras. And look at all the communication from the chateaus using amphoras. They are always taking the fact that because the ancient used to do it, that would say something. And it's always their starting point of communication. So it's, as you say, it's not an innovation compared to the wine globe or this kind of stuff, but even the wine globe, it's not an innovation. We use them since centuries. So yes, we think it's an innovation, but it's more an innovation in communication than anything else. That's my starting point.
But could we say, for example, that for instance, that the innovation right now is a way to blend, maybe, or to combine several kinds of or several ways of producing or aging wines, right? For instance, 20 years ago, maybe in Bordeaux, but in other production regions, you had to age your wines in barrels. That's it. That was it. Now you can blend different kind of vats, different kind of ways, and you adjust your wine, you adjust your aging, depending on the style of the wine you want to produce, depending on the expectation of the consumers. And maybe that's the innovation right now. It's like you combine and you find your own way.
Yeah, but if you take, for example, a Château L'Angélus in Saint-Émilion, they used to vinify their wines for I don't know how many years, but the last, I think, 25, 30 years, in 3 different vats since 25 years.
Mm.
So wood, concrete, and stainless. So again, it's not new. And they used to do it so many years ago. So it's just maybe the shape of it and the fact that we used that before the others, like Monte-Canet used the amphora and the egg before the others. And okay, fine. It's just because we are the first one to reuse it, maybe. And it's even more important in this Grand Cru business, in the top-end wines. That's why I was taking this type of example, because we all know that the Grand Cru business, these top-end wines represent nothing in Bordeaux. Yeah? In terms of volumes, quantities, whatever, it's 2.5, 3%. It's nothing. So the big thing is the rest of it. All the small wines, let's say small wines, small prices. And these people, this Grand Cru business, yeah, is 80% of the image of Bordeaux, or even more. So yes, we still need them for that. So if they can say something else, if they can explain another story, okay, maybe we can use it. Yeah? But use it the good way. Again, if it answers a specific demand from consumers or from the market. Otherwise, it's just for fun, and for fun, nobody cares. So I think that's more an answering demand than anything else.
Maybe now, thank you. Maybe now could be the right moment to recontextualize the concept, the very concept of innovation in the world of wine. So I'm going to turn to you, Mickael Rouyer. What does innovation mean in the world of wine? Why do we innovate? Does it have the same meaning everywhere? First of all, maybe you can introduce yourself better than I did.
Yes, nice to meet you. My name is Mickael Rouyer. I'm mainly a marketing guy too. I used to work for several companies for business in Champagne first for Nicolas Fayette, and I moved to Burgundy at Boisset. And I have been in Bordeaux for 15 years at Baron Philippe de Rothschild as brand manager for Mouton Cadet. And then I moved to Magrez as a director of marketing. And my last job was director of an appellation at Blaye, a wine syndicate, the Blaye Côte de Bordeaux appellation. And now I'm mainly a wine communication and marketing consultant for companies in Bordeaux, mainly in Bordeaux, and teacher in a dozen of business school, engineering school, communication school, and here in Vatel, of course. So just to answer your question, we have to keep in mind that innovation is mainly linked with marketing. And if we are looking at what happened here in Bordeaux, we have 6,800 wine estates. And from a consumer point of view, everybody is making the same wine. It's a Merlot and Cabernet in a Bordelais bottle with a label, a back label, a cap, a cork, in a wooden box or in a cardboard. But from the marketing point of view, from the consumer, it's more or less the same thing. So the question is how to be different, how to tell another story. And that's quite complicated for wine brewer in Bordeaux, because if we are looking from maybe 12, 10, or 20 years ago, it was mainly a marketing of a supply. Wine growers are producing their wines, and after production, they are thinking about how to market the business, how to market their wine. So they produce, and then they are thinking, I have to find a new market, but they had already produced their wine, and we have to change this paradigm, and we have to switch from a marketing of supply to a marketing of demand. So what does the consumer want? What are the new trends? And sometimes it's complicated for a wine grower here in Bordeaux, for a small wine grower, or even an average wine grower, because a wine grower wants to produce the wine that look like him, or the wine that he likes, but that's not necessarily the wines people are waiting for. So that's the first thing. And the question is not, do I need a rosé, a crémant, a white wine? It's, as a wine grower, am I able to promote it? Am I able to promote a rosé, a crémant, another kind of wine? Maybe it's better to focus on my know-how, my red wine. And another thing is that, once again, it's quite complicated, because if we are looking at Bordeaux, we produce wine not only the 4% of Grand Cru, 96% are not Grand Cru. So it's average between 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 euros, and with 1.5, 2 euros of margins. And how to innovate with such a small amount of money? That's a question.
So what you're saying is the main challenge right now for a wine producer, for example, in Bordeaux, since we are in Bordeaux, will not be the on the producing side, since Renaud told us that the quality of wines has never been so high, but it will be in the know-how, in the marketing, and the way you're going to reach new consumers, right?
Yes, absolutely. Why innovate in the world of wine? I think we have a lot of region here in Bordeaux to innovate. We can stimulate declining demand, because that's a fact. We are drinking less and less Bordeaux wines. We can reach out non-consumer wine. Well, non-consumer, like for example, young people. Our young people are ready to innovate, are okay to see Bordeaux moving forward, and maybe it's a good thing to take market share to competitors, especially if you are looking at the new world market. They are asking for innovation, as you said before, and one thing which is very important is that innovation means also a good way to have maybe to improve the balance of power with the distributors. Because if you are a small wine growers without innovation at all, it could be difficult to have a new listing, even in a wine shop, or even in Carrefour and Sainsbury's and Tesco, because they are looking for new stuff. And last point, I think you have to innovate if you want to be visible, audible in the market. Because we have so many wine estates in France. We have close to 100,000 wine estates, sometimes with 2, 3 chateau names, with 2, 3 other brands. So we have maybe 500,000 name of chateau or brand just in France. But you have to look worldwide.
And I guess that first of all, you have to establish a strategy, because if you want to innovate, you will not innovate the same way if you want to reach, for example, a Chinese market or a French market, but for younger consumers, or maybe a North American market, right?
Yes, and innovation is not the same thing. It depends on the market. For example, if we are talking about innovation in France, if we say screw cap, screw cap was the big innovation 20 years ago, but it never happened in France, because French people are not ready for screw cap. because they like the cork, like the sound of the cork when you open the bottle. So that's a fact. If you are looking in the US, for example, we can say that maybe the wine in can is the next big thing. Maybe 10% of the market in 5 years will be in can in the US.
In the US.
So, but are we ready here in France to drink a Bordeaux wine in can? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe the young generation, maybe they will tell us if they are ready to drink a Bordeaux wine in can. I'm not sure.
Just to add something else. Yes, the French producers are not ready to use screw cap or cans, even less. But on the other hand, I'm not sure that the consumer of Bordeaux in the other part of the world, like Chinese, for example, or even US, or the British, or the Germans, or the Swiss, or whatever, I'm not sure they're ready to open a bottle of Bordeaux with a screw cap or a can.
Mm-hmm.
They expect from us to be, that's it.
Yeah.
We should be this classical bottle with this classical brewing level, with this cap, and with this
so Bordeaux
natural cork.
Bordeaux is, what you mean is Bordeaux is like condemned to be classical, to have the classic label, the cork.
I'm not saying condemned, but again, because we can add something else to that, like the story around it, but the physical aspect of it. Because we are also keen in Bordeaux to promote the quality of the product because of the AOC and plus the 1855 and another story we built over it. But the thing is, how can we imagine as a consumer to open a bottle of Bordeaux without all these classical elements? Because we are also seen like this on the market. And this is, again, our border of innovation is very thin on it, on this packaging issue, because if we're going too far, look, all these experiences made by Bordeaux producers to be something different. Have you seen so many labels with an animal on it, like they do in Australia, or they put a kangaroo on the label? Do we put a wild pig on the label in Bordeaux? No.
When it happens, most of the time, they're going to go out of the appellation. They're going to produce a vin de France because they're going to be bottled.
It's not a Bordeaux anymore.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. That's very interesting because we were talking about the screw caps, the wine in cans. The alternative packaging right now is one of the very interesting ways of innovating.
Yes, but you are absolutely right. And just to conclude on the packaging aspect, if we are looking at the French market, you are going to Auchan or Carrefour, and you are looking to the Bordeaux brand. They all look the same. The top 5 brands mass market, Baron d'Estac, Cordier, Cellier, Cour, they all have the same label, the same color for the capsule of the cap. So that's a fact. For French, even for a French guy, if we are going to a supermarket to buy a bottle of Bordeaux, a Bordeaux brand, we are looking for this kind of label, maybe old-fashioned, but that's the point. And maybe yes, for the alternative to the bottle, a lot of alternative already exists in the market. But once again, it's quite difficult to imagine to drink a Bordeaux wine in a Tetra Pak or in a can. But for the US, for Canada, for Quebec, or even for northern countries in Europe, Tetra Pak, wine in Tetra Pak is okay, because that's their culture. They're okay with that. So it depends on which country you target, and maybe if you want to sell wine in the northern countries, you have to think about a lighter bottle. Maybe you have to think about another way of conditioning. You have to think first market, demand, consumers, and you can starting to think about adapting your packaging or your bottle or your other alternative to the bottle.
And we are talking about packaging. We are talking also about intelligent labels. Maybe now we can use some apps to have more information when you take a picture of the label. Of course, sustainable packaging in the cardboards or even and all of that takes part of the innovation that we are going to expect within the next few years.
Yes, I think we have to rethink the way we package the wine. Wooden box, cardboard, especially now with the increasing price of wood, for example. And we have to think about maybe upcycling the wooden case. I buy wines in a wooden case. What will be the second life of my wooden case? Maybe I can transform my wooden case in a bird cage, in a jardinière. We have some examples here in Bordeaux with Château Fleur Cardinal,
Yes.
Vigneron de Buzet also, Mouton Cadet. They are thinking about the second life of the wooden case. And I think it's not a big innovation, but it's a good innovation maybe for the planet. And the same for the cardboard. If you are looking at what happened in the cardboard now, you can tell a story with the cardboard. It's not only a packaging to conduct your wine from point E to point B. It's also it's part of the story. And we have also some example here in Bordeaux where the cardboard is looking like really a book, and you can tell a story inside the cardboard. You can have pictures inside. You can communicate to the consumers. And if the cardboard is very good looking, you're okay to keep the cardboard at home. Mm-hmm. So you have to think about that, how we can manage the switch of the packaging. That's first point. And maybe the second point is maybe to decrease the packaging, maybe with a shorter label, maybe the end of the cap, because we don't really need cap. So the back label, do we really need back label? Mm-hmm. Is it useful to have a back label? If you are selling to hypermarket, okay. But if you are selling straight to the consumers or in wine shop, do you really need a back label just to say my wine is a Merlot Cabernet and it's perfectly fit with Entrecôte à la Bordelaises? That's not a different thing. So maybe we have to rethink the way of package our wine.
What do you think, for example, we're not going to talk about Bordeaux, but about Champagne, for the example of Rouyer 2 or 3 years ago, they yes. decided to drop all the boxes for their bottles, and they have an envelope which is sustainable and can be upcycled.
That's a good idea because it's part of their strategy. So it's very coherent with their positioning. Because, for example, they don't use plane to export. They only use boat. Uh-huh. They reforest their vineyard with they plant, I think, I don't know, it's 10,000 trees in their vineyards. So that's very consistent and coherent with their strategy. So if that's the case, it could be a good thing. But if it's only to say, okay, look at my new packaging, it is, I don't know, that's a biodynamic wine. Okay, that's a biodynamic wine. But if you have a heavy bottle, if you have a label like that, a back label, if you are selling in a wooden case, mm-hmm. and that doesn't make sense. So you have to, I think it's important to think globally about your concept and your positioning.
Especially specifically with Rouyer, which is, okay, this packaging is amazing. Technically speaking, it's absolutely fantastic. We could see, as you mentioned, maybe a greenwashing aspect on it, probably, maybe. Even worse, when you go to La New Samaritan in Paris and you go to the Rouyer corner, when you can engrave your initials in gold in this new packaging. So, okay, let's talk about greenwashing maybe.
And Rouyer is just
it's clever.
And Rouyer is just a brand. It's a brand.
Yes, it's part of a.
Maybe you have to look at the other brand of the group, mm-hmm. and maybe we will have some surprises.
Which group is it? I'd like to turn to Sébastien. Sorry for the wait, Sébastien. When we prepared this roundtable, you told me about the three main issues that arise today in terms of innovation, and you said natural, commercial, cultural. First of all, can you introduce you again for the audience and maybe explain us, first of all, what do you mean with the three main issues?
Sure. Good morning first. I'm Sébastien Labat. I'm working for Bernard Magrez as I'm in charge of subsidiaries in the group, wine tourism, the incubator, so the innovation part with the startup, and some new projects such as our craft beer that we are starting right now. And yes, as far as innovation, I think everything I heard was correct. I mean, today the wine has never been better. We have big challenges in marketing, but I think it's more global as far as the industry. It starts with producing. It's harder to produce because of environment issues, because constraint on chemicals, because the cost of labor, cost of raw material. I mean, all that is an issue as far as production. It's harder to communicate because today you have to be almost an expert in social network, in web marketing, in sales on the internet. That's another area. And the third, it's harder to sell, as you said. I mean, the competition is growing. Other countries are doing great wines as well. So because of that competition, you need new tools. You need to innovate to sell your product. So producing, communicating, selling. You have challenges in every area, and you need to innovate for each of those, I think.
And if you want to stick for the for example to the natural part of the new constraints, how do the innovation allow us to adapt to these constraints? For example, you work for Bernard Magrez. I know you work with drones. You have all electric tractors, radar, tools for measuring the vigor of the vines, protection against frost and hail, targeted treatments, all those kind of innovations right now.
Yeah, so that part is really what we do in research and development in our internal department. And as you say, I mean, today we have more and more frost issues. We have hail as well, more and more. As we said, we can use less and less chemicals in the vineyard. So for frost, for instance, I mean, you have a lot of ways. I mean, you have some of the chateaus use helicopters just to move the air and to make it less cold. We have the wind turbines as well, sometimes even heating. So actually that's a paradox, because trying to struggle against natural issues, you're creating other maybe issues by heating the vineyards, but those tools are used everywhere. Some people will use like candles in the vineyards. And what we see, especially in the incubator, we have a startup who created a heating lamp. Basically, it's connected with a sensor, and when the temperature decreases below 3 degrees, the heating system starts, and then it creates heat in the vineyards. And it's automated, so you don't need people to go and light up the candles or light up fire, or you don't need the helicopter. So this kind of innovation today is still tested. It's still being tested. We've started the tests a couple of weeks ago, last month. But this kind of thing, we see more and more of those types of innovation, especially in the incubator. That's an example against frost. Another one I could take is a project called Viti Tunnel. It's actually same thing. It's automated. So when it's raining over the vineyards, the thing will cover the vines and prevent the vine from getting the rain on them. So because it's not humid anymore, it stays drier, and now it's less impacted by disease, by
mildew.
Like, yeah.
That's very interesting, but it gets me to ask a very quite tricky question. What is the cost of innovation?
Yeah, that's.
And since Mickael, maybe you work for, as you told us, for an appellation called Blaye Côte de Bordeaux, and even in Blaye, I guess that all the estates cannot afford to pay for that kind of technology, right?
Yes.
In all the other appellations.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yes. For a wine grower in Blaye or in Grave, in Entre-deux-Mers, or in Bourg, sometimes when the wine grower says, I'm into innovation, that means he will launch a new product or a new label. And for wine growers, that's innovation. So there is innovation and innovation.
Mm-hmm.
But for small wine growers, that kind of innovation, that's quite difficult to imagine this kind of innovation in a like the Bordeaux vineyard, because we are dealing with small wine growers. They are selling their wine at between 3 to 5, 6 euros, and they earn maybe 1.5 euros by bottle, and they produce an average of 100,000 bottles. So there is no money for that kind of innovation. But I think that's a good point that a guy like Bernard Magrez or maybe Gérard Bertrand, this kind of guy, they are showing the right way. They are testing. They try to improve things, and we need this kind of guys like Pontet-Canet for we talk with Pontet-Canet, and that's the same. That's the same idea. We need some mentor in innovation in order to promote a more accessible innovation in the future for small wine growers, maybe. That's my opinion.
Yes, I think you're right. At the beginning, innovation is always expensive. I remember when I was at school, this kind of thing was 100,000 euros. Nobody could afford it. Today, you have that in almost not every school, but a lot of them have that. So yeah, at the beginning, innovation is expensive. But if we look at websites, 20 years ago, nobody had a website because it was so expensive to develop and to do it. I mean, today you go to Wix and you can create your own e-commerce website to sell your wine. So I think, yes, of course, at the beginning, it's expensive. But more and more people using those tools can make it affordable for more. And the point is that, as we said earlier, I mean, the other countries called new countries for wine. They are starting with technologies like 5 years old technologies. I mean, we are starting from centuries old habits. So at some point, if we talk about Bordeaux, we have to be careful because we have a reputation, but we also have to, at some point, to catch up with what the others are doing, or I will be behind.
Yes, but Bordeaux, I don't know if Ono will agree with me that Bordeaux is maybe one of the most advanced regions right now in terms of innovation.
Yeah, and the tricky thing is we were seen as the most polluting region into the wine business so far. And in the last, let's say, 5-10 years, we are the fastest to move our production to the less chemical possible in France. And we know that as a consumer, because we are not so communicating so much on that point. And so yes, the perception is heavy sometimes and lasts too long maybe. So the way to change the perception, innovation can be a tool. But more or less, these innovations we are talking about, packaging or technical in the vineyards or in the cellar, as I told you, are more or less a way to communicate differently on the way we are producing, but technically speaking, we are doing the same thing. I mean, roughly,
Yeah.
as you said, still a bottle of red wine or white wine or rosé wine and nothing else for the consumer. I mean, on a marketing point of view, it doesn't change anything. But on the perception seen by the consumer of our product, it changes everything because we are communicating differently because of those innovations. And maybe only a few will afford it. And specifically these drones, and the drones are not the most expensive thing, but all the tunnels and this kind of thing is quite expensive, or the automatic heater as well. I mean, you can imagine that the guy in Bly, he cannot afford it. You just cry when the frost is here, and that's all. He cannot even afford an insurance against it. So that's it. So
yeah. But even in insurance, I mean, we have a startup creating a parametric insurance.
okay.
And they actually they base the cost of the insurance on the data from the years before. So if you have been hit by frost every year, you have more chances to get hit again. So you will pay a little bit more, but you will be
like the car insurance.
Right.
If you have an accident, you pay more.
Yeah. So
okay, that's clear.
So this kind of things, and but as you say, I mean, one important part as well is the innovation in communication. I mean, today the influencers, I mean, they are the main way of communicating, and they can be a good vector for the kind of information what you just said about reducing the chemicals in the vines. I mean, yeah, we could send press releases. What we do, we still do that. But influencers are here as well to bring that message to younger people. And if you don't think about that, I mean, maybe some small wine growers, as you said in Bly, will not think about it. I think they should, because it's not that expensive and it can help them communicate and
Yes.
When we prepared this roundtable, you told me, Mickael, that all the innovations and all sometimes the most interesting are not the most traceable. And
definitely, because I think you have to approach innovation from two angles. Technological innovation is quite rare in the world of wine, and innovation perceived by the consumers, and that's totally different. For example, a new wine reference, a new flat cardboard, that's not really a big innovation. For example, another example, wine cocktails. Wine cocktails is not a very technological innovation, but from the consumer point of view, that's innovation. Okay, we can have some cocktails with Bordeaux wines. I don't know if it's a good idea or not. That's not the point. But if we are looking at the consumer and say, wow, Bordeaux innovates with new cocktails, for example, with sauté and with tonic, and or low alcohol wines, that's not really a big innovation from a technological point of view. But consumers looking at that with okay, in Bordeaux, we can have some wine with 9 degrees or 10 degrees. That's a new thing. Very big technological innovation in the world of wine is very rare if we are looking at the product. There's the invention of champagne by Dom Pérignon a long time ago. That's a technological innovation. Maybe we have the bag-in-box in the 60s. That's a big innovation. But we don't have this kind of innovation each year in the world of wine, as you said before.
Yeah, but this innovation can be quite far right now. I'm thinking about the blue wine. I don't know even if it's such a success, but the CBD wine we produce right now in Bordeaux. So the concept of wine can be can evolve very fast.
Yes, but I think it's more like a gimmick, because if you are talking with a blue wine, CBD wine, I have seen sparkling wine with oak. That's only for the communication story. That's only storytelling, but only storytelling without something very, I think, strong for the consumers. Blue wine, orange wine is something else. But from the consumer point of view, maybe it's the same thing: blue wine, orange wine, green wine. I don't know. I think it's not the very very good example of innovation because it doesn't really make sense. I don't know what you are thinking about that, but
it's nothing. It's just a game.
Yeah,
just a game to answer. To just fly on a specific demand, but which is even the market is not analyzed on these specific points on blue wine and CBD wine doesn't make sense to do it because I mean the part of the market represents almost nothing. So I think so.
maybe we can focus on maybe a new grapes or resistant grape varieties. I think
that's another way.
Idea. That's a good point.
And that's an answer to global warming
yes.
and
so
environmental issues.
It makes sense. We have, for example, a vignoble Ducourt, Jonathan Ducourt, with the range Métissage. So that's not a Bordeaux range because it can be in a AOC. That's Vin de France, but that's another point for the consumer. Maybe leaving the appellation could be another road for Bordeaux wine growers. I don't know. For example, if you want to sell wine now in wine shop, if you are going to a wine shop with your Côte de Bordeaux, your Grave, or your Médoc, could be difficult. But
how do you make the difference?
Yes, if you are going with your 100% Syrah made in Bordeaux in a Burgundy bottle, maybe the wine shop guy is looking at you. Oh, okay, that's innovation for Bordeaux. That's innovation. Once again, it's not is it good or not, but that's the market. The market is looking for something new, especially here in Bordeaux.
But you won't be a Bordeaux.
No, you won't. But maybe
you won't choose the name. You cannot choose the name. So
but
Bordeaux can still evolve, as we saw. You can introduce new kind of grapes right now for experimental, like the.
To think about it. Anyway.
Yes, from the Portuguese grapes, for example. Yeah. So Touriga Nacional. So you can try right now to adapt your vines to the global warming. Sure. Yeah. So, for the commercial constraints parts, Bordeaux has to face right now worldwide competition, as Renaud told us before during his conference. But how do you stay ahead through innovation in these circumstances? You have to be, you have to adapt your product to traceability because people all around the world want to be sure that if they buy, for example, a bottle of Pape Clément, it really comes from the estate and it's been sold in the right conditions. You have the material as the communication with intelligent labels, like we told before, and we have continuous information since we all use smartphone right now, and the explosion of purchasing online. So how do we adapt, for example, Sébastien, to the all new constraints?
So we see different technologies. I think we already know the QR codes or the NFC labels on the cork. I mean, when this is broken, it doesn't work. You cannot be sure that the bottle is original anymore. But if you scan it, you have plenty of information about the bottle and where it's coming from. So that already exists. I mean, we've seen that on other products such as shoes and stuff like that, but it's been adapted to wine. The latest that we see, at least in the startups we are working with, we are helping, is the NFT and the blockchain. This is becoming pretty big. So one of the projects was to actually create the the bottle into the blockchain from the moment it's being sold by the producer to the every step to sorry, wine merchant, yeah, wine merchants, importer, distributor, retailer. Today, the box could basically go from one place to the other, and then the next, and the next, and the next, and it's a lot of logistics. And this project actually, which I mean, I think is an idea, an innovative idea. Will it work? We don't know, but sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. That's the price to pay. But at least these projects want to create, modelize the bottle into the blockchain, and the bottle will not actually move anymore from one place to the other. But at some point, if someone wants to get the box in the blockchain, he will say, okay, now I withdraw the product because it's mine at this point of the chain, and it will be shipped from the first place directly to the third or the fourth or the fifth. So this kind of projects shows that, as I said earlier, not only in production or marketing, but in sales as well, people are trying new things to make it easier to sell, to make it cheaper to ship, to make it cheaper for the consumer as well. Because now, if you don't ship the box in 5 different places, you save 5 shipping costs, 5 times the shipping cost. So, and this was an issue earlier. I mean, the price of the product. Yes, of course, there is a price that in primeur, where when people say, okay, my product is like 200 euros. But we saw somebody asked a question about the taxes. And it was going from 100 to 300. Yeah, sometimes just the shipping cost makes the product go from 50 euros to 100. So everywhere we can save in the production, shipping, sales process is a good thing for the consumer and can be good for whoever is doing it. So.
Mickael, what do you think about the future of NFTs in the wine business? We've seen some examples recently, as just like Dom Pérignon who produced a special cuvée with Lady Gaga, and it was an amazing success. Within in a few hours, everything was sold out. So, do you think it's just a short trend right now, or it's going to become one of the future of wine business?
Just for the bottle, I think maybe a good idea is the connected capsules, connected caps, or guarantee stamps that we put on the bottle. Why? Because that helps to limit counterfeit, and
that's a very big
some
issue.
Key figures about counterfeiting. At least 20% of the world wines are said to be counterfeit. And in China, 40% of the wines that are imported are said to be counterfeited. So that's a key issue. That's a key issue for this kind of markets. We have to look at a new solution in order to limit counterfeiting. And connected capsules, maybe, or guarantee stamps, maybe that's a good point. And that's also a good idea to monitor distribution, because when you are selling wines worldwide, it's good to know where are going your bottles. And it's not the same thing that if your bottles are going to London and are drinking to London, but if they are going to London and they ship to Shanghai and then sold to, I don't know, a city in the middle of China, that's not the same thing for you, for the consumers, like for the carbon footprint.
Sure.
So maybe other connected capsules that helps also for this question of distribution. And of course, it's a good communication tool, because you can know who are buying your wine and where is the consumers, and with the data collection, geolocalization, and of course marketing, direct marketing, it helps a lot. So I think that's maybe a good idea for the future.
Indeed. And what about the NFT part of the development? Do you have any insight about that?
Not really, honestly. Not really.
Does the group Bernard Magrez plan to invest hugely in it?
I can't really tell you that right now.
Okay, you don't have any scoop for us. So.
Not yet.
Oh, sure.
But the NFT also is not a way to increase the speculation on the wine, because people are buying NFT, it's easier, and usually NFT, you can see the trend of NFT is really about speculation. Prices are crazy.
Yes, it can. Sure.
Increasing a lot. So is it not also a way in the wine industry to again increase more the prices?
It can be a new tool to increase to speculate more and more. Sure.
Sorry, I was not in your workshops in the beginning, so maybe the question has been already. There are also innovation now in the departments of supermarket where you sell wine. When you have wine fairs and you have meters and meters of wine bottles, and the customer gets lost because he doesn't know all this wine and he doesn't know how to choose this one or this one. So you have new systems now, it's experience, and you earn an application. You say, well, I like vin rosé, such and such. Then you click and you have lights which start lighting with the bottles which correspond to your choice. So you have some new innovation also in the distribution of wine.
Yes, one of them actually is called the Wine Space. It's a startup that we follow at the incubator. You're absolutely right. When you can even do that from home. You select the store where you want to go, and you say, okay, I want a wine for the breakfast of my mother-in-law with to drink with chicken, and it will tell you, okay, you can have those 3 wines in this store, and you can go there with the application, as you say. I mean, you can find the wine.
You can find the wine where it is.
So, but the interesting thing about this as well, it helps the consumer. But on the other side, it will help the sales guy, because they know exactly what people are looking for in their superstore, in their store, and then they can adapt what they will sell afterwards. So, as you say, there are 900 different bottles of wine in the stores, but sometimes maybe some of them you can't sell because people are not just interested in that product. So now with this kind of data is a big thing as well in innovation right now. With this kind of data, you can help the consumer, but help the sales guys as well. So that's an interesting one, yes.
Well, and that leads us to the third main issue, which is the cultural one, because wine is not any product. It's not any. It's a cultural product, right? And it's and you need to share it. You need to share it with people, but you need to share it on the new social media, on the websites, and on all the new platforms right now. Renaud told us about the apps, the many apps that you can use right now with your phone, and you can use apps to, of course, recognize wine, to have other opinions about is this wine good or not, and of course you can have apps to have more information. For example, with augmented reality, and you have all the social media aspects, the influencers. All that part is a new communication and innovation in communication.
Yes. I just had a question about the culture, business, because we are here in the School of Hospitality, Restoration, and Hotels. And I don't know if you wanted to have this subject on the table, but the fact is very important right now, because people, when they're going to a restaurant or an hotel, they will consume wines not the same way if you are at your home, because you're in a specific place, you will have an experience. And my question was, do the houses or the chateau are very focused also on the part that when they are preparing packaging or products to sell to the CHR department, do they are looking for something very innovative and to the way they can communicate in the restaurants or in the hotels, and how they can maybe improve that part, because it's also a huge part of selling, and it's not the same way selling, because you are with professionals and with different atmosphere. If you're just buying wines for your home, and you will have like something very different of what you are speaking for the first time.
Sébastien, for example?
Yeah, so the apps sector is tough. We received about 100 applications for the incubator from startups from production to from the vine cellar, sales, marketing, wine tourism, and out of those applications, we probably got like 10 or 15 ideas of apps. So today, if you guys are thinking about innovating in wine, be careful with apps, because there are tons of people trying to do that. So that's the first point. Now, as a chateau or owner, and talking about my boss Bernard Magrez, yes, he's always looking for new ways to communicate, to differentiate our wine from the others in a supermarket, in a store where you have hundreds of bottles. So of course we are interested in new technologies, such as I'm thinking about Smart Bottle, which is an app where when you scan the label becomes alive. So the thing, you can have the owner explaining the wine to you. You can have the ratings from Jane and Son or whoever. You can have a video showing up on your smartphone, and actually it's really cool because it shows up on the label itself. And sometimes even they have an example where the guy on the label comes alive and jumps out of the label, and you can still follow him on the phone. So yes, there are new experiences. Of course, you want to be the first one or the only one having it to be different. And that's a big subject. Now, the downside of that, of course, when you are in a restaurant and you're selling the wine at a very expensive price, you don't want people to look at Vivino and say, hey, you're selling the wine 60 bucks, it costs 20. I mean, what is that? So that's the downside of it. But yeah.
The interesting point maybe is that it's how the innovation and new technologies are going to change also the sommelier future. If you made sommelier job in the restaurants.
Yes. We need you to to promote wine, to tell the story. You're like an ambassador of all the wine growers. So your job as a sommelier is to tell the story, and that's the main point. But sometimes, in a lot of cases, we don't have any sommelier to tell the story. So if we are looking at innovation in the world of on-trade restaurant, we can have a look at the digital menu and the digital wine list, and maybe, I don't know, maybe it's a good could be a good hub for a lot of restaurants without sommelier, because when we are talking with the guy or the server, that's always a big deal. The wine is always an issue. You are looking at the wine list with maybe 200 references. You don't have any pictures. You don't have the name of the wine growers. You don't have any information about the vintage. You don't have any information about the appellation. So that's you are looking to the wine list and you say, okay, so what's your choice? I will choose not the cheapest one, the second cheapest one. Yeah. So that's always the case, more or less. And maybe with a digital wine list, it could be an idea for the consumer. He can take his time in order to choose his wine. It's an help to choice according to food and wine pairing. The translation of wine information. If you are a restaurant in Bordeaux, maybe you need the Chinese version of your wine list or English version. It's an easy way to update your wine list because it's digital, so it's connected maybe to your stock, and you can easily update your wine list. And maybe it can help to choose your wine with a video of your wine grower. we have seen with the COVID QR code. QR code was old-fashioned 5 years ago. Nobody wants a QR code on a poster. It's a ringard, old-fashioned, the old-fashioned QR code. And now, if you don't have a QR code, that's complicated in your life. So maybe the customers, the client of the restaurants, the futures, they will look for this kind of information to scan the QR code and to say, oh, okay, I have the video of the wine growers. He can tell me the story. If they don't have any sommelier in the restaurants, that could help, I think.
So the technology will not replace the sommeliers in the restaurant, but it can be an alternative in different types of restaurants or wine bars. Yes, sir.
Yes, I have a comment and a question. The comment is the following. I think there is a lack of innovation for many topics and many needs. There is a demand from the customer to have wine that you can take very early, that can be palatable very early. So the way of making wine has to answer to this question. And it has not answered completely because you still have wine, I mean, with the high level of first alcohol, 40 and 50, sometimes 15 degrees. So, and the demand is for wine with less alcohol. This is the first point. Second point is the demand is the wine that you can drink a little bit earlier. And there is also the expression, I mean, by the customer and the new customer. Now I have a specific question to the manager of Bernard Magrez. As far as the memory is my memory, a few years ago, I think 2 or 3 years ago, you propose, a bottle of the Pape Clément, with a mix of 5 or 4, vintage. As far as I remember, it was 2000, 2005, or something like that. It was, yes, the first time in France, but not the first time because the Syria used to do that for many, many years. So my question is, this was a new product. I think one probably produced 1,000 bottles. What was the answer of the market?
That's the marketing guy for Magrez. I used to work for Bernard Magrez, but 10 years ago.
I have the question because it's the same question about the new products adapted to new habits of customers. I know that you have some wines such as Terre. They have a lot of difficulty to sell their wine. So they are obliged to adapt the new habit of the customer. And they are making things that were unbelievable 5 years ago. So can you tell us something about these new products?
Sure.
Maybe one of spirit, because you also have the spirit.
Sure, maybe Sébastien can answer the first question.
The new bottle of Saskia.
Yes. So to answer your question, the product is called PC4, so Pape Clément 4. It gathers 4 different years of Pape Clément, and those were selected by Michel Rolland and Bernard Magrez themselves. They picked the 4 years they preferred, and they created an assembly. So now it will stay between us, but yes, the number of bottles was limited. Yes, there was a big story about it. Yes, that was the first time it was done
In
France, and well, yeah, in the appellation it was absolutely forbidden, so it couldn't be a Pessac Léognan or Grave. But there was a lot of noise about it, and this was communication, number one, and number two, because those bottles were just rare. They costed like 2,000 euros each, while if you add 4 bottles of Pape Clément, at worst you will be at 400 euros with 4 bottles. That was 1 bottle, so a quarter of each. So sometimes, yes, this was not just because there was a need on the market. It was some communication, some pretty smart strategy from my boss to make noise and communication and advertising, marketing. I mean, call that how you want, but at the end of the day, everybody was talking about it, so it was good for the other products of the brand. Now, the Sauterne issue, and maybe you have some insight as well, it's different. I mean, Sauterne is hard to sell, so they are looking for new new ways with cocktails, with communication, with trends, with younger people doing some mixes, some pairing with new food. I mean, so that's a different strategy you have to have. You have to create new ways, innovation in marketing to sell your product because it's tough on the market. And the third one actually is when people really need something, as you say. Today, people want more hygienic products, less alcohol, healthier products. So that's a market demand, and that you have to answer with the right product to the market. So really, I mean, there was really three questions in one. One is, okay, I want to talk about my products, make some noise, communicate. So I create a new thing, an innovation, maybe not very useful, but expensive, rare. People will talk about it. That's one. Number two, I have a hard time to sell, so I need to innovate because I want to sell. I need to find something to sell. And three is, okay, the market needs something. I want to react. I want to create the right product for the market. Who will be the first to give that right product to the market? I mean, so I think, yeah, you have three different ways here.
Well, I think regarding the expectations of the new consumers, I thought as a journalist, not as a wine producer, I think Bordeaux has improved really within the last 10 years or 15 years because sure, you're right. Consumers want less alcohol, more fruit, less oak, and they want more and more white wine, less and less red wine. But if you taste Bordeaux wines, especially en primeur, you can really enjoy the wines younger and younger, and still they can age gracefully. And I'm not sure there are a lot of regions in the world that can produce wines that can be enjoyed when they're young and can still age 30 years or 40 years, depends on the quality of the vintage. But I think Bordeaux has made a lot of improvements on the savoir-faire for producing that kind of wines. Regarding the alcohol, sure, it's an issue. It's a global warming issue, but I'm not sure Bordeaux is the most endangered right now. If you look at the Rhone Valley of the Provence, and especially if you go southern, if you go Spain or Italy, the alcohol issue is way more important.
If I can just add something about what you just said, that's another research and development initiative in our group in Bernard Magrez. In La Tour-Carnet, we have a collection of 83 different cépages from southern countries, and we are tasting them. I mean, they have been there for 4 years. Now we are starting to do wine with them and to study how those cépages,
wine grapes,
Varietals.
sorry, varietals. Okay, well, cépage, everything. We are starting to study how they react in Bordeaux, in this region, because maybe in 20 years it will be 5 degrees more. So we will have to use this kind of grapes from southern countries. So yes, so that's another innovation, reacting to the environment. That's one of the issues we are talking about at the beginning. But yes, you need to be creative about issues like that. So.
But you have to keep in mind that in Bordeaux, we are in the AOC world. So AOC, 65 appellation in Bordeaux. And AOC is not really the same on the same time that innovation. Because if you want to move an AOC, if you want to change the cahier des charges, the regulation, the rules of an AOC, it will take 3 or 4 years just to change sometimes one word on the regulation, the rules of the AOC. So if I say today, okay, for Bordeaux we need a Syrah in Bordeaux. If I want to put Syrah in the cahier des charges of a Blaye de Bordeaux appellation, I will have to wait maybe 3 or 4 years because we have to deal with the INAO and we have to deal with Brussels because it's all the cahier des charges are European regulation. So maybe in 4 years it will not be a good idea anymore. So things are changing so fast. So we have the timing of innovation very fast, and the timing of the outset very slow.
But you know, some very courageous people sometimes start innovation before getting the label, and the
Of
market
course.
can answer and giving them
Yes.
good price.
Sure.
I think in the world, all of you are expert. How starts Sassicaia? It started with Vino de la Tavola, and now you know it's in the range of the Grand Cru of Bordeaux. I think, I mean, in the next 15 years, the change will be very high. Mainly with now we are harvesting. We used to harvest in the middle of September, and now sometimes it starts at the end of August. So I mean, we are facing a huge, change around us. So that means innovation has to answer, not probably totally, but partly to this question.
Absolutely.
And at some point, some people might think about getting out of the AOC or the appellation just because they don't have a choice anymore. I mean, if you by following the rules, your wine cannot be sold or drank anymore. I mean,
I don't agree with you. For instance, to give an example outside of Bordeaux, some people in Loire, they don't care about it because they miss it because the grape has not, processed in the vineyard. But the customer answer, and they are prepared to pay the price. I don't say that for all the customers, but some of them, you know, as we said in the French language, they can be the locomotive of this revolution.
yes, I agree with that.
Maybe we could focus a little bit. We're coming to the end of this round table. Maybe we still have a few minutes to
4 minutes.
Yeah, 4 minutes. Okay, so we're going to do a short focus on the startup incubator. How many startups do you manage right now in the Group Bernard Magrez?
We help them. We try. We have 49.
49.
Today. Yes.
All French?
No. We have Italian one, American one. We have one in Czech Republic, and a Belgian, I believe, in the latest who entered. And they are in different level of maturity, different level of development. The core of the program is 10 startups that we have selected with a jury. And those are helped by it's Unitech. It's a specialized organization in Bordeaux helping people creating companies. And the other part of the program is Bernard Magrez experience teams, and we also organize meetings and workshops to help them grow faster. And the other ones actually are, they have different programs, but yeah, a total of 49. And we started a year and a few weeks ago. And at the beginning, we were thinking that they needed that help from Unitech to structure the business, and that help from Bernard Magrez and his teams to get used to the sector, to get some experience and contacts. And actually, we discovered something over the first year. They also gain a lot by being together.
Yeah, sure.
Because they are all from the same sector. Some common contacts can help all of them. Some methods, some ways of behaving in the wine industry. So that's the third point that we actually discovered along the program. The synergies between the startups are really cool. They are starting to create projects, 2 or 3 startups together, and so far so good. I mean, they
combine their energy.
Exactly. Yeah. They are really happy about the program so far.
Great. So we're going to come to the conclusion of this roundtable. So I have a last question to maybe you have a question? No?
You don't have any question online?
No questions online.
I have a last question for our guests, and this is it's how the COVID-19 pandemic has changed and forced us sometime to mutate and to go faster in the innovation, and what are the tomorrow's main challenges? Renaud, for example. You want to question? You have to think a few minutes.
The main challenges, if looking for the wine from Bordeaux.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bordeaux.
On the one from Bordeaux, I would say is to gain new customers and regain the old ones. Not forget the old ones. Who, when I'm talking the old ones, not by old by age, but like hotels, restaurants, wine shops, these kind of things. So a certain type of canal of distribution who's maybe try to forget a bit Bordeaux so far because of everything we talk about and this morning. So that would be the great challenge for me to Bordeaux. Quality side, I don't see any challenge. As we said, we never produce so better wine so far, so it's okay. So yeah, it's more or less a question of gaining new customers to fit with the new level of price issue. Okay, fine, but not for all the rest of Bordeaux, which is the big mass of production. And these guys benefit in the wrong way of this Bordeaux bashing due to the Grand Cru Classé. And we need to adapt also ourselves on this mass product from Bordeaux to this maybe new customers to say something else and maybe use innovation for that.
Sébastien?
Well, a thing that we didn't talk about is wine tourism. And I'm in charge of that actually at Bernard Magrez, and this part suffered a lot. We used to welcome 17,000 people a year at Clément for visits, for stays in the hotel rooms, and it went down to, I don't know the exact number, but less than 5,000, I think, in 2020. And wine tourism has become a very good tool to talk to consumers, to influencers, to ambassadors, actually. In that part, we suffered a lot, but new tools were created, like webinars, like live tasting on the internet. We used to ship bottles to our customers and do some live tastings, explaining the wine and what we used to do in the store, or the sales guys used to do traveling and they couldn't anymore. So this helped us actually creating some new tools. And the latest one actually is virtual reality helmet, in which we have the 5 biggest properties of the group of Bernard Magrez, and you can visit at 360 degrees those properties. So now our sales guys in China, they can use that helmet to show Pape Clément, La Tour Carnet, Fontbroche to their customers, and at the end of that, they can do the tasting as if they were in the chateau. So this kind of thing was actually helped by COVID, because we needed those. We couldn't show the castles or the chateaus anymore. So this has been now we think it's fun. It was tough going through it, but now those are fun tools we can still use. So
that's a nice improvement. And last word to
Mathieu. What COVID teach us is that maybe we have to look at the consumer trends. Consuming locally, as close as possible to the consumption area. We have seen the direct sales, short circuits, the circular economy, with the purchase of second-hand products, recycling, upcycling, fight against waste, the choice, of course, of environmentally friendly products, HV, biodynamic, and organic. And maybe tomorrow's challenge will be how the carbon footprint has to be integrated as a new level in order to help the consumer to choose his wine. And how marketing guy like us, how to communicate this new level, because it's quite complicated. to communicate about carbon footprint. But maybe tomorrow the customers will look at the cleanest bottle of wine, and not necessarily organic, biodynamic, but maybe the best carbon footprint wine.
Yes, it's an overall.
Maybe just to open a door in the future.
Well, thanks to you. Thanks
Okay.
to the three of you. And
This
thanks to
afternoon, you
you.
have another conference on the wine tourism, because you talk about wine tourism. And you also have this afternoon a conference on virtual world, and you talk about it because you use it already, and you can experiment for you. You can experience your virtual world in room somewhere there. So you can this afternoon or right now you can experience that. Thank you very much.
Thanks to you.
Thank you.